there was a Continental Congress that adopted this flag. Did y'all know that? That's why today is Flag Day, y'all. It was defiant. It was bold. It was a signal of hope in the face of despair. They believe then as we believe now. As Leah said, courage is contagious. They raised the flag not just as a symbol of a nation, but as a resistance to tyranny. That's what that flag stands for. And when they did that, you'll never guess what happened next. We beat the bastards. We won. Whose flag? Whose flag? The story didn't stop there, y'all. This flag became the flag of the abolitionists. The Union soldiers carried this flag into battle to crush a rebellion built on white supremacy and bondage. This was the flag of the D-Day soldiers, black, white, immigrant, native, who crossed oceans in order to crush fascism and liberate Europe. And we don't have to whitewash our history to be proud of our progress, y'all. This flag has flown over injustice and inequality, but it's also been claimed time and time again by those who are demanding better of our country, that it lives up to its ideals. This is the flag. This is the flag that civil rights activists carried as they marched from Selma to Montgomery, demanding that this nation lives up to its ideals. Liberty and justice for all. 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 We fly this flag together with our pride flags, our Black Lives Matter flags, our Mexican flags, our flags of heritage, because e pluribus unum, out of many one nation, indivisible. A few years after this flag was adopted, in this very city, yet again, it seems like Philly's important to this story. In this very city, there was a constitutional convention, and Ben Franklin left that and was asked the question, what kind of government do we get? What y'all set up here? And he gave a challenge to all of us, a republic, if you can keep it. This right here, right now, in this moment, this is where we keep it. This is where we keep it. We keep it by showing up, by marching together, not in lockstep, but in solidarity. We do it by saying this flag, if it doesn't belong to all of us, it doesn't belong to any of us. Today, we are doing the most quintessentially American thing you can think of. We are showing up peacefully, together, proudly, defiantly, to say freedom means something. To say that justice demands action and that we are not done fighting for the country we know is possible. How many kings? Whose flag? There are millions of Americans marching today under the same banner. But Philly, yet again, this is the flagship event, pardon the pun. This is, though. The national cameras are on us. They are here. So if you will indulge me, I'd like to send a very clear message to the world. Thousands of us with one voice. Leah, would you lead us in a pledge of allegiance?
All right. Folks, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Leah. Okay. This is an incredible display of powerful people showing up for their constitutional rights. This is not the end, but this can be an inflection point for our democracy. So I'm going to ask you to take some action. If you've ever worked with Indivisible, we're not just about speeches, we're about action. Take out your phone. Take out your phone. How are we going to coordinate after this movement? How are we going to push forward? How are we going to be the persistent force for democracy? We're going to text No Kings, NOKINGS, to the number 59798. No Kings 59798. Then on Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're all gathering together to talk about the next steps, how we carry this movement forward. Donald Trump's not done. Are we done? Are we done? Thank you for being part of what is a historic movement for liberty and justice for all. We are stronger than the forces seeking to divide us. There are more of us than there are of them. Together, we will win. One last time, how many kings? How many kings? I'll see you on Monday.
That is Ezra Levin of the No Kings Indivisible. That's indivisible.org's co-founder. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm having a hard time hearing myself. So let me try this. That might be better. I don't know if you guys can hear me, actually. I'm sorry about this. This has been a bit of a thrown together event. Can you guys tell me in the chat if you can hear me? Because I can't hear myself, which is no good. While you do that, let me just quickly turn this other thing down here. Oh yeah, you can't hear me. Hi, Carolyn. Hi, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to be with me today. Dean is not feeling too great today, so he's not going to join us, which means it's just me, and I don't have enough to fill an hour by myself, but I know you guys do. So if you want to join me, I would love you to join me for a little conversation about what today was all about. It was a remarkable day. Thousands of people showed up from around the country, in every corner of the country, to 2,100 events, almost, I think it was 2,100, minus the few in Wisconsin that had to be canceled, but, sorry, not Wisconsin, in Minnesota that had to be canceled, but we are seeing still the largest coordinated demonstration against Donald Trump since the start of both his administrations, really. I think this is really the biggest showing of force that we have seen come out against the authoritarian movement, against Donald Trump, and it's been quite a remarkable day. From Bryant Park in New York City to LA, from Atlanta, I think that's where we just saw that rally, or sorry, that actually might have been Philadelphia. I'm not sure. I'm sorry about the confusion about that. I'm just trying to pull these things together as we can. But there were, between 60 to 80,000 people gathered in Philadelphia today. That's quite remarkable. Americans are sending a very clear message. Clearly, they are saying to Donald Trump, they're saying to the authoritarians around the world that they had never have voted for a king. They never will vote for a king in the United States. America's whole founding was based on getting rid of a king, and they intend to keep it that way. It was really emboldening to see so many people out today, because there was, of course, a threat by Donald Trump to be that there was going to be a show of force against protesters if they showed up, if they came out to protest against him. But, millions still did. And that is a sign of how impressive this organization of Indivisible and all these other organizations has been in putting together this incredible event. Let me say to you that, as we spend some time here today, you guys have sent me some photos and images, which I'm going to put together and put them on the website, on Narativ.org. I would also, if anyone wants to join me on the chat, I've added a link. It's for the app called Stage 10. You'll have to download this app, but it's not a heavy lift. If it's on your phone, download the Stage 10 app, and the link is there in the bottom of the chat. I'm not sure where else I can put it for you. I guess I can put it in this. I'll try to see if I can get into the screen. It's a little complicated, but if you want to, please join me on the chat, on Narativ.org's chat. There's a link at the bottom of there. It's called For Stage 10, and you guys can join me and tell me exactly what's going on from your neck of the woods. Tell me how it feels in your part of America. And even if you have already finished your events, which many of them are, of course, over, you can join me and tell me what today was all about for you. How it felt being out there. There was also, of course, this very big contrast with the military parade in DC. Really what a significant difference we are seeing between the authoritarian image of what America can be like, or could end up being like, if we stayed on this path of authoritarianism. And on the other, we're seeing this beautiful image of thousands of people organically showing up around the country, in every little spot around the country, in non-violent expression of their opinions, of their free speech, of their First Amendment rights. And this is what makes America so special and so beautiful, is that those rights are enshrined, and that people can do that. And then people do that because it's important to them to have this connection with their government. It's important for them to be able to speak their mind, because that does actually influence policy. In other parts of the world, you can try to speak your mind, but nothing gets communicated to the leadership there, because it doesn't make a difference if you communicate. They don't care. They hold power. That is what totalitarian power is all about. In America, it matters what you say. It matters what you vote, because that is the system that we have developed for America, that is the envy of the world. We keep forgetting, because Donald Trump likes to trash it. Well, I'm not forgetting, but some people keep forgetting what an incredible experiment America has been. How much growth and not only economic growth, just spiritual growth, social growth, artistic growth, creative growth, every kind of growth you can imagine has come out of this idea of allowing people to have a right to govern themselves, to have a say in their government, to vote for their government. Without it, you get a very kind of decaying, top-down, totalitarian structure, which we've seen around the world. It doesn't inspire creativity. It doesn't inspire new ideas. It doesn't inspire solutions. And it certainly doesn't use the most powerful thing that any nation has, the people that it has, as the primary resource to figure out the biggest problems in that society. Instead, it relies on just the few, the very wealthy and the very rich, who care really about themselves. And that is what Donald Trump is projecting into America today. We've heard from people on the chat from around the country, and I'm so thankful to everyone who sent in their videos, and there's some great posters. I wish I could share this with you. I wonder if I can. Not that easily. Maybe I can do that. Let me just quickly see if I can pop this over here. Talk amongst yourselves for a brief second while I noodle something here. Let me see if I can do this. And here, and I was talking my way through these things, but I apologize that we're just doing what we can here. Welcome to live television. I guess this is here, so if I close this and then try this, I don't know. It may not work. Let's see if I can quickly add this Substack chat, which is what I am seeing on my screen, and then I can share it with you. And if I can do that, I can't do that. If I can do it this way. All right, I still have it. I still can't really pull it off. What I thought I could do, I can't do. So maybe. There we go. There we go. Everything's possible if you give it a shot, if you give it a little moment. I think you can now see that. So this is the chat that we posted earlier, and I'm going to just show you some of the interesting sights and sounds that people have shared with us on this chat. So if we go into here, this is from someone sent this in from Providence, Rhode Island earlier. There's a video of an incredible turnout in Providence, Rhode Island. Just a short video clip there. Wow. Thank you guys. Thanks for sharing that with us. There's No Kings was in from Washington, 3 p.m. is Pacific time is when that is taking place today. So that's interesting. Still lots of protests coming later in the day. From Sydney, British Columbia, and Vancouver Island, in a total solidarity with PAC NW, Pacific Northwest Island neighbors. No Kings, they're saying there. Let me see if I can just, oops, no, it's, please do it live. I think I'm live on YouTube. I'm not even sure. I tried to make it go live on YouTube, but I hope it is. If you didn't take, I'll show it to you later. Look at some of these great posters that people have come up with. I love this one. The Gulf of Stupidity, morons are. I think this comes from someone in Conway, New Hampshire. I love this. America is such an incredible place. It's such a, the red, white, and blue always just gets me. Just always gets me. And this kind of Americana that you see captured in this beautiful image, protect we the people. What a great sign. Good job. Out of Washington State, I believe. In Jamestown, Rhode Island, look at this turnout in the rain. Unbelievable how many people turned up in the worst of weather today, just to show their solidarity, to push back against Donald Trump, to push back against authoritarianism. It was really beautiful to see. No Kings in Memphis as well, sending us their view of what's going on there. So thanks, guys. Thanks for doing that. The chat is still open. It's on narativ.org on the chat there. Feel free to throw in your pictures or your thoughts of what happened today. And you'll also find the link. If anyone wants to brave going live with me on the air right now, feel free to use that link that you see in the chat right now. And we'd be happy to chat with you about what happened today. I'm going to keep talking for a little bit here because I do find all of this kind of inspiring. It's so great to see protests because it doesn't happen for you people to give up their time, of the day and weekends to dedicate maybe even a full day just to go out and protest. Is such a sacrifice from a lot of people. Everybody, it's a sacrifice. And we do it because we love America. We do it because the ideals of American freedom and equality and participatory government is what we live for, is the reason we know we need to fight for the system. If this wasn't a system worth fighting for, none of us would be here. We'd all be, out for lunches or walking our dogs or whatever. But the reality of it is, when we see this great American country at risk and this great American system at risk as we see it today, we have to fight for it, because without fighting for it, the whole future trajectory of Americans will forever be changed. Every single generation that follows from now on will not be the same if we do the kind of things that Donald Trump wants to continue to do in America, where we send the military into the streets of LA, when we are glorifying and justifying the violence against our own elected officials, like we saw in that horrible exchange between when the Senator Padilla was taken out of Kristi Noem's press conference the other day. I mean, these are such terrible things to be witnessing in a society that holds itself up against those values. To see the Secretary of Homeland Security, oh, sorry, it's a rough day. To see her going out there and justifying the violence against an elected senator, the elected person of that particular state, it just makes you cringe. It makes you so angry that this person doesn't understand the system that has given them the power. And on top of that, every single bit of democracy that they are clawing away from us every single day through all these attempts to, cut back our free speech, to control the media, to control law firms, to really manipulate the entire environment that we live in. They've gone at absolutely everything in society, the media, the courts. We already know they've co-opted many of the religious institutions. They've dug in on the things that we rely on the most, like our Social Security and our Medicaid and Medicare, and they're making that under threat, because they know that the more they threaten us, the more they tackle us, the more they put us in a state of fear of survival, the more power they can grab from us. Every single day, they just grab. And it's thanks to the courts and the people that so far this American experiment has not collapsed. The courts have done a phenomenal job in pushing back wherever possible against the illegal attempts by this government to claw back our rights. And the most significant of those things, which I wrote about on narativ.org the other day, is the federal court of the Ninth Circuit ruling about not having the National Guard in California. And of course, now it's under appeal. The expectation is on Tuesday that the original federal court ruling will be upheld, as it should be, because these are the realities of our existence. I mean, we are living in a free country built on a constitution where there are no kings, where there are no rulers that just decide when they wake up in the morning that they can tell us what to do and how to do it. We're living in a world that is about freedom and equality and the ability to create your own life based on meritocracy, and anyone, theoretically at least, can build the American dream. That's what we've all put our lives into, and past generations have fought wars for this. Millions of people have died for this ideal of having this freedom. And so when we see the courts pushing back, they're pushing back not only for us, they're pushing back for the next generation. And so that's the courts. They've done an incredible thing. The people, we each as a generation, we're bestowed on us the previous generation's successes and sometimes their failures, but a lot of times we are the people who are carrying the torch for a short period of time. We get to spend maybe 80 years on this planet, and we get that torch from previous generations to keep the flame of freedom and liberty and equality alive. And we do it. We don't do it for ourselves, or at least we shouldn't do it for ourselves. In Trump's case, he does it for himself. In Elon Musk's case, he does it for himself. A lot of people just do it for themselves. The rest of us, because we're probably more, more community minded, let me call it that way. We do it not only for our kids, not only for the community's kids, but for the next generation and the generation afterwards. Because can you imagine being the generation that doesn't pass the torch of freedom down to the next generation? And we are slowly becoming that under Donald Trump, a generation that will not be able to pass on the same freedoms and successes we've had to the next generations. And that would be incredibly sad for America. It would be incredibly sad for every single country around the world, because without America, people are often criticizing America because it's easy to criticize a country with such bold ambitions, and and sometimes maybe we don't always reach that. But what people always like to criticize America, but they forget all the freedoms, all the amazing things that America has given the world. Do you think that we would have seen the advancements in women's rights? Do you think we would have seen the advancements in science? Do you think we would have seen the advances in medical care, in just the general human rights, whether it's about voting rights or other rights, LGBTQ rights? We don't get those without a country as big and powerful and strong as America leading the charge on those things. So when you darken the flame of America, you darken the flame for the entire world. There will be no one to look up to, because we're no longer literally the beacon on the hill. So it's so important that everybody understands that what we're doing today in America and what we're going to be doing in the future is fighting for everybody. Is fighting for next generations. We're fighting for every single soul on the planet. And we hope that the people around the world also fight with us. It's very easy in this context, because Donald Trump is the worst person alive, to hate America. But he isn't America. He is elected right now into a position of power, and he's trying his darndest to make it his position of power forever, that he can pass on from generation to generation. But he's not reflective of every American. We all know that. And we saw that today with the enormous amount of people that showed up. So proud of everybody for taking so much time and effort to just be there, to go and show you that America is not the same as every other. Americans are not the same as the people that they expect us to be. We're not all MAGA heads. We all most of us still genuinely believe in the democracy project. None of us really completely support everything that Donald Trump is doing. Practically nobody supports everything that Donald Trump is doing. He is so far out on a limb, doing the craziest stuff you've ever imagined, deporting illegal immigrants to foreign countries and throwing them into jail. Kids, he's attacking kids at school. He's sending these ICE agents to go into school and arrest people who's maybe tangentially somehow, maybe one day, came in through their parents. I mean, this is not the kind of society we have all thought about as being the American society, which has been a place where everyone could take part. If you arrive here and you can, and you become a legal person here, or even if you don't become a legal person here, you actually can still achieve the American dream. That is the joy and the beauty of the American vision, is that everyone can get access to all these great things. And maybe we haven't always succeeded, and maybe at certain times we've elected governments that are just, counter to the American spirit, and maybe we keep doing some things, and I don't know why we keep doing it, because it breaks my heart every time we elect Republican governments that, absolutely destroy America's credibility. Because when you look at it, it's only Republican governments that have done this to America. When you think about the amount of wars we've stepped into, it's not been the Democrats that are going into wars. It's the GOP that go into these crazy wars. When you look at the economy's performance, every time the Republicans do they're in charge, they wreck the economy. They leave us with the worst debt, the worst deficit, and we're stuck trying to fix it. And oftentimes it comes along with some sort of market crash, which may not be directly attributable to them. But sometimes I wonder, you got to wonder sometimes how come only these crashes happen when Republicans are about to hand over their power to Democrats. And if my thinking is that maybe they're causing it. So we have never seen so much reckless government as we see out of the Republicans. The Republican government does not want to achieve the glory of America's complete potential. They don't want to see us achieve the potential. They want to see us they want to use the system for their own enrichment. And that has come time and time again. And it's oftentimes comes at a cost of real blood, from American soldiers that are sent overseas to fight all these terrible wars. And for also the people that sometimes we're in these wars that are, nonsensical wars, and we land up not only ruining our reputation, we land up killing so many people there. Our attempts to rebuild are never really that successful because it's never done with the right intention. Those wars are always, underneath them all is always greed and oil and a whole bunch of other things. It's never really about the right kinds of things. And so, America, there's a lot to criticize. But on the other hand, there's a lot to be, to just admire about America and to remind ourselves that without America, all the progress we've made in the last 70 years, 80 years, 100 years, 250 years, really, would not be possible if it wasn't for the ingenuity, determination of the American people, the capacity to be creative, the capacity to think broadly, to think about bringing in as many people as possible and giving rights to everybody. It amazes me that this MAGA movement is opposed to immigrants. I mean, when immigrants are the very lifeblood of America, they always have been. This is how America gets its capability, its glory, its skill set, is by bringing the best of the world from around the world, and we bring them to America to do even greater things. So how can we be that country now that is turning against immigrants? How can we be that country now that is not allowing scientists to come and do their work here, that is cutting back funding, is cutting back all the US aid projects, every single science and research stuff that has been cut back in recent, the grants that have been cut back are unbelievable. The attacks on Harvard, the attacks on other universities, it's so un-American to imagine that. I grew up in a police state in South Africa, and I used to go to a university that was pretty left-leaning, and there was protests there. I might have been in one or two of them. Let me tell you something. It's not as draconian as it is here. I could never imagine the American government, the South African government, even as draconian as they were, to be cutting back funding for all of the universities because of protests. Of course, there would have been no universities left at that point. But, the reality of it is this is what America has become. It's become the exact opposite of a place for free speech and free expression and free protest. It's become the place of, well, let's suppress people. Let's cut back their funding. Let's take away everything that their lives, their dreams. This administration's ability to just throw away people's life's work because they don't feel like it that day or whatever, as if Donald Trump is so important, as if Donald Trump has ever done anything for the world that is of actual value. None of it, nothing, zero. Those towers are just monuments to money laundering and drug cartels. That's all they are. There's nothing good that comes out of Donald Trump, and yet he can take someone who's doing these grants or these research projects, who get these grants, and just throw away their life's work, in an instant. They don't care that they've potentially killed millions of people around the world because they've left all those food supplies locked up in warehouses around the world. They don't care. And how is it that the most powerful people in the world, that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the richest fucking people in the world, excuse my language, how come they don't care? Because they really don't seem to care at all about what's going on in the world. And that to me is just one of the saddest things to happen, is that the richer you get, the more you lose touch. I saw Jeff Bezos' yacht the other day. that giant thing, with his trophy wife, and off they go on this, environmentally unfriendly journey around the world. I thought Amazon was meant to be an environmentally friendly company. They're anything but, and they just absolutely reek of gaudy new money, of people who are not appreciative of what they have, who don't understand what giving back is, who just want to amass more and more and more because it actually matters to them that they have the biggest boat in the world, that it's bigger yacht than the other guy's big yachts, and therefore they're better, I guess. This is what they think of as being important. Meanwhile, that money that they have, that money that bought that yacht, could probably have saved the lives of so many people if it was put into a different context. Instead of that, gaudy wife and this like ostentatious show of wealth, what they could have done with that money, and which they don't choose to do. Instead, they prop up this guy, Donald Trump. They're putting this guy, Vance, who's got no reason to be in the VP position. I mean, let's be honest. This guy, nowhere in a million years would he have been the vice president of the United States if it wasn't for the fact that the Trump campaign was completely bought out by Musk and Thiel and company, and this guy was just thrown in there as the potential future king. By the way, as we're discovering now, we have been learning that the control over the electoral systems of these ES&S voting machines is really problematic. I mean, I don't want to overstep the boundaries of saying what I think is going to happen here, because I think the investigation isn't complete, and I'm very careful of saying things that are not complete. But I keep seeing these reports, and my own investigation. Let me just interrupt that for 1 second. I want to see if I can get some of these live pictures up, because I love talking, but videos of what's going on, and I think I can do that now, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see what's going on here. And I will get back to that topic, because I know everyone's really, really interested in this topic of all right, I'm going to take some of the sound, because that way I can adjust a little bit. I'll come back to the other stuff in a second. And thanks for being here on Narativ as we keep covering the No King's protest. how great is it to see these pictures out of New York City? Thousands of people again. A gorgeous day, it looks like, in New York City, showing up and just expressing their free speech rights. This is what it looks like in downtown LA. If I can do this, let me see.
I like their sign. Hey, Will, their sign says, elect the rapist, expect to get fucked. That's the really shit out.
Put down the noise level in New York. It's quite a feisty day they're having there. And this is what it looks like in LA right now. I'm not sure there's any sound attached to this video at all, but we're looking at thousands of people outside. Ooh, wow, what a scene! These aerials reveal so much, don't they? When you get to see this from above, you can really see the turnout and the force. And this is the kind of stuff that Donald Trump just hates seeing. This is the kind of stuff that Donald Trump does not. He wakes up in the middle of the night fearing this day when so many people show up that his power is taken away from him, because the power does not actually belong to him. The power belongs to the people, and we know that. And for this kind of protest to be happening with the National Guard and the Marines deployed in LA as these thousands of people turn up to express their opposition to the tyrannical government, to this regime that is installing itself and its authoritarian ideals into America, bringing the worst of the worst kind of tendencies of dictators. There's that parade, the military parade that's going on today, that has been sold off to a bunch of crypto companies that you can gain access to the VIP part. Look at this scene. Oh my God, you really get a sense of how big that is when you look at that one tractor trailer. Wow, that is unbelievable. This is downtown LA, everybody. This is what it looks like when thousands of people show up to fight for democracy, to fight against autocracy. What an incredible aerial shot. ABC 7 providing the shot. This, back to what I was saying earlier, it's becoming clearer. I wouldn't say it's completely clear yet, but it's becoming clearer. I don't know if you guys can still hear me. Can you? I hope so. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can't hear me. Can you hear me? You can hear me. Yes. Okay. Everything we're finding out about what happened in the 2024 elections is revealing to us that maybe there was something under the results of those elections that may be not legitimate. We're seeing that there is a bunch of things happening in New York State where some of these votes weren't counted, and people are suspicious of that. We're seeing questions around a company that was providing updates for the voting machines. But the most interesting part of this, of the intersection of power that we're seeing that maybe intervened in the elections, in the real voting of the 2024 elections, came with the purchase of the ES&S voting machines that were purchased by a company called Eaton Corporation. Eaton Corporation then struck a deal with Palantir, with Peter Thiel's Palantir. And then on top of that, the two companies, Palantir and Eaton Corporation, now the owners of ES&S, they did a deal with Starlink, the Elon Musk's company. And we're not quite sure what the details of what that deal really meant, because the terms are very vague, but there was some sort of experiment being done using the ES&S voting machines, now owned by the Eaton Corporation and Palantir, and Starlink, the Elon Musk-owned low orbiting satellites around America, that maybe, just maybe, we may find out, maybe had an outsized way of influencing the election results by maybe manipulating those votes. Now, it's not definitive yet, and that's why I so carefully am walking through this and not making allegations that we can't prove yet, because when we do prove them, and I think we will, we want to be definitive about the fact that we've proven them, and it can't just be this sort of this case of potentially there's circumstantial evidence here that might lead us to that. Circumstantially, it looks like a very confusing and potentially illegal situation. But in order to prove these correctly and completely, we need to be able to go down every single ES&S machine, and we need to make sure that there really was tampering with that code, that the uploads done to those ES&S machines, we need to understand exactly what was happening with them. So we're going to find out. It's going to take a while, but the courts have started this process, and we are beginning to have a discovery process that's happening next. And I got to tell you, it's the same people. It's the same people, Palantir, who are the potentially involved in the scheme, who are also sponsoring Donald Trump's parade to his ego, with the military parading to his, in front of him, to appeal to his sensibilities, to appeal to his grandeur. Now, why would the same company that is responsible for owning the voting machines and doing all these unusual deals with Starlink also be celebrating the very bastion of dictatorship that is Donald Trump? How is that? How do you square that away? Is it one is a company dedicated to democracy potentially by owning these voting machines, they empowering democracy, and the other is a dictator, and yet they're able to sponsor both. Wow, LA, you are blowing us away. This is so impressive. It's great to see LA showing up in the numbers that they are, but of course they have been the focal points of the last few days. There's no doubt about it. They've been the most the blunt edge of the sword here is what they're getting. What California has had to deal with Marines and National Guards and people picking up workers from looking for work, and people picking up people and deporting people from protests. This is the kind of nonsense that is a continuation of this authoritarian creep that we keep talking about, and it's awful. So to see LA be so defiant today, to see LA come out in such dramatic force, look at that! Wow, LA is sending a clear statement to the people of in Washington, D.C. right now. And don't kid yourself. These images are going to send fear down the spine of every single person in the White House administration. Every single person. Because they know that when these protests show up in D.C., and they will show up in D.C., it'll be the end of their time in government. And it'll be the end of this authoritarian streak. And those people will face only one thing. It's interesting. Elon Musk, before the elections, indicated that if the Democrats won, he would land up being thrown into jail. And now, he survived that because, hey, he bought out the next government. But he's still going to get thrown in jail. People are still going to get thrown in jail for these crimes. These are horrific crimes. And today they might not seem like crimes to many people, but they are absolutely crimes. What we are seeing happening in California, what we are seeing being done against these poor immigrants that are being, and some citizens that are being thrown into jail in El Salvador, what we are seeing being done to these grants and this ability to protect ourselves against pandemics, that we are seeing in the attack on elected officials like Senator Padilla in LA, when we keep seeing things like this happening over and over again, these are crimes. These are crimes against the American Constitution, and they're also crimes against Americans as a whole. We are, this government was not elected. It was not elected to send the Marines into California so the ICE guys could do their business. And so, as you're watching here, and there are so many people continuing to flow in. I mean, this is, it's still only 1 p.m. now in California, and it is no doubt that this is the scene that we can look at and say, wow, this is the kind of image that we've seen in other countries, in other, you see this protests in Georgia, you see this the protests in Belarus, you've seen thousands of people show up to protest their government. Those images are always so striking because the density of the amount of people there and the depth of of how big the protests are. Well, this is City Hall in LA. I mean, this is it's a huge gathering place. Of course, it's designed for these kinds of protests, but it is quite something to behold when you see the number of people there. Look how tightly packed they are. And I suspect this is just the start. I suspect if you look over there, there are a lot of people still streaming by and along the highways. They're protesting as well. You do see a lot of the Mexican flag there. That's for good reason. Of course, they'd be targeting America. Oh, I'm frozen. Am I frozen? I'm frozen. Let me see if that fixes that. Am I still frozen? I'm still frozen. Joy to the world. Let me see if we can fix this quickly. There you go. I move again. One of these days, I'm going to show you my screen here. It is full of so many windows and so many different components. It's hard to sometimes make sense of when everything's there. But hi, everybody. Hi. Thanks for being patient with me. I was saying something about the criminality of this administration. This is the most corrupt administration ever. The crypto conspiracy that we have covered on Narativ, everyone needs to pay attention to, because this is how these guys are getting paid. The thing is, they don't realize that they're getting paid well, they do probably realize, but that's sort of the catch they're in. This currency, or so-called currency, only achieves its value if America ultimately endorses cryptocurrency as some sort of legitimate way of doing business. And then, if that happens, then Donald Trump and Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and all these other incredibly greedy, selfish individuals that care only about themselves, then they'll be even richer. They'll be even more powerful. But if it doesn't happen, these idiots have spent the last few years corrupting our entire system, defiling the American Constitution, taking away rights from people in order to potentially earn nothing at the end of the day. That's how stupid they are. They've bought into a system that only pays out if cryptocurrency is an actual success. But cryptocurrency, as someone's pointing out, Twilight's pointing out in the chat here, is a Ponzi scheme. It's not real. It's going to collapse on itself one day, and many Americans are going to lose their shirts. But the people
Wix, one platform, any website, unlimited creation.
Raking money.
Describe your needs and goals, and AI will transform your tailored brief into a unique website that's ready to perform in minutes. Customize it, shape your visitor's experience down to the finest detail.
We've seen them make all this money.
Monitor, measure, and manage all your website's activity from one place. Personalize, customize, Wix.
Their efforts.
Wayfair presents
to
Lighting.
ride the pump and dump.
Get the latest looks with top fixtures at low prices and a huge lineup of floor lamps, all under $79. Shop tons of table lamps, $49 or less. Go modern, stay classic, or get weird in a good way.
They are expecting.
Plus fast and free shipping over $50.
Made some money.
All the lighting, none of the stress. Now that's a glow up.
At the end of the
So
day,
hit the lights. Shop lighting for way less at Wayfair.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
When crypto gets defeated, they'll be left with not as much money as they think they will make. And hopefully what we will also see is the end of their ability to be free. You know, these guys are criminals. These guys are absolute criminals. And we can't let them get away with these crimes, because then they'll come back again and again and again. So we can't allow it to happen. I want to pop in for a second here, if we can, at the Minnesota rally. Let me see if I can show this to you as well. I'm surprised this is happening today, because I thought a lot of the No Kings events in Minnesota were canceled because of that attack. But let's see. Maybe they're planning to do something anyhow. I don't know if anyone has any information about this. Tell me on the chat, and I can quickly pop in and explain to people why this is still happening. Maybe it doesn't look like a very huge rally, to be honest, but it certainly does not have the impact of what is going on in LA right now. Which I'm just going to put it back on the screen, because, boy, this is something else. We'll keep Minneapolis on the side there, but it's still this is still early on in the events there in LA, and people are coming in their thousands. While you watch this, take this in for a few minutes. I'm gonna just see if I can find some other information about what happened here in Minnesota. So it's interesting that even though Governor Waltz did ask everybody to not go to any events today for No Kings um, in Minneapolis and in Minnesota, um, many people still did. Many of these events are still taking place. So, despite the official warnings and cancellation of several planned demonstrations, especially in northeast Minneapolis, where a shelter in place order was issued, some rallies continued, notably in St. Paul, where crowds have gathered in the state capitol. Organizers and participants expressed determination to mourn the victims and advocate for peaceful, just, and democratic future. The situation remained tense throughout the day. Still, an active manhunt is underway right now um, in Minnesota, and this was a terrible, terrible event that really took everyone's sort of joy at the start of today away because there was a gunman, as you know, who targeted the homes of two Democratic state legislators and really sent a chill down the spine of everybody about what was going on, about what this day could be about. Of course, our hearts and prayers and thoughts are with everybody involved in that situation. It's just awful. Um, that Melissa Hoffman and her husband's state senator, John Hoffman, um, were killed. And so, we are devastated by it all. And many of us are um, concerned about what is yet another politically motivated act of violence. We're seeing this. It's sorry, I misspelled. I think I mispronounced the name. It's Melissa Hortman and Senator John Hoffman. And I'm sorry about the mispronunciation. What we're seeing is this government sanctioning violence against the opposition. It's one of the hallmarks of authoritarianism, and if it happens in small ways, we've seen it before in Marjorie Taylor Greene rallies where they're taking out some protesters they don't like what they're saying, or in Kristi Noem's press conference when they attacked a sitting senator of the United States, by forcing Senator Padillo to stop talking and moving aside. When we start creating an environment where that is legitimized, where that kind of violence against your opponents, against your critics, is acceptable, Well, that's when you get the slippery slope into a dictatorship that people start using to target their own petty, weird, cruel fantasies. The people who subscribe to MAGA and subscribe to a lot of these ideals, well, they are the kinds of people who will pick up a gun and because of some rage issue or some other issue, go and attack, a state senator. And so what you'll end up with is the acknowledgement by the government that violence against everybody and violence against your critics, your opponents, even if they're elected, is okay. It's done in the name of, Donald Trump. It's something we saw through Kyle Rittenhouse. We've seen it before through the January 6th insurrection. So many people breaking the law, doing whatever they can just um, to feel bigger about themselves, to justify their own existences, and by taking up these arms for the supposed cause of taking the lives of elected officials of Democrats. It's horrendous. It's horrendous what is happening, and it's on Donald Trump's hands. The blood is on Donald Trump's hands, and everybody in that administration that keeps glorifying violence against opposition. It's just the most vile, anti-American thing possible. I am going to end our coverage there. I've been waxing lyrical about all sorts of things for the last hour. Dean has promised me the next time we do a show, he's going to speak the whole way through. Oh, he does that already. I love Dean to bits and we need it today, so no problem, Dean. And we'll be back on the 5 Stack Monday at 3 p.m. at this very time slot for more coverage of everything that's been going on today in the No Kings Day at narativ.org, narativ.org, narativ.org. That's where you find my Substack. Dean Bundel's Substack is at deanbundel.substack.com. Also, don't forget to check out Olga Lautman and me on the Trump Tyranny Tracker, Monday to Friday at 2 p.m., where we bring you a very detailed look at how democracy is being eroded day by day. And thankful to all your support, free or paid. It really means a lot to all of us that you subscribe to our Substacks and our efforts. And we know that together with you, we're going to be able to defeat this authoritarian government. And we know that we can be supportive of you, and we hope that you appreciate everything we do to cover the events that are going on in America with the depth that we have between the three of us. Actually, it's quite a nice group of very in-depth factual reporting about how democracy is being eroded, how the world is changing on a day-to-day basis, how Canada's role in particular is shaping up to be a real game changer in America, and also just how committed investigative work that really digs into these stories, like the one we were talking about earlier on, the ES&S stories, actually pays off. So thank you very much for your support. We are so proud of everybody today. I'm so proud of everybody today. Look at these crowds that showed up in LA. Thousands of people, operating under the guise of fear, operating as this is not a good time to be protesting. And yet here we are, lots of people protesting. I might even be able to move a little bit. Anyhow, cheers, guys. Thank you very much for being here today. I'm sorry it's been a little clunky along the ways, but best effort by all of us. And we shall see you again on Monday on Narrative. I don't know why we're doing anything. That's really weird. Leave it there. Okay. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you again on Narrative on Monday. It doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter. Back to LA, those beautiful pictures, and we'll see you again soon on Narrative.org.